This is James P. White from 95.7 Cruise FM, The Locker Room, and welcome to the Jedi Jimmy podcast. This is actually episode number 40. This is actually the beginning of one of my favorite upcoming series of all times, based on my favorite movie of all time, Williow. So I'm actually going to give you a bit of a backstory, kind of explain what the movie was about, since it did come out in 1988. Some of you might not have been around then. One of my favorite movies. Now, as I said, Williow was actually released in 1988. It was directed by Ron Howard. It was the story was by George Lucas, and it had a number of great actors in their early years. Val Kilmer, Joanne Whalley, who they later married and divorced. Billy Barty. He was the High Alwyn, the wizard in the Little People Village. You might not know the name, but he's actually well known in the Little People community. He was in a number of fantasy movies, in which one of them was the what was it called? Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren. He was the little Gwildor, little wizard guy. But he is really known in the Little People community because he actually was one of the founding members of the Little People's Association of America. And of course, the series included Warwick Davis, who played Williow Ufgood. Now, Warwick Davis actually made his premiere in movies and stuff like that as a kid. He was actually one of the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. He was actually Little Wicket. And he was 13 when he did that movie. So the movie actually had little people playing little people. That was a big thing. Like, you don't have a lot of that now in the movies. It's all camera angles and stuff like that. And what they in this movie, what they called the little people, they were called Nelwyns, and the nicknames that the taller people had for them, they called them Peck. Yep, I hated that name in high school. When that movie came out, I was actually in high school. Now the movie starts with a prophecy of a child being born, Laura Dannon, being born and having a special birthmark. The prophecy stated that she would actually destroy the evil Queen Babmorda. So the queen actually sent her soldiers out to basically capture all babies, look for the birthmark, and if the child did show, she was going to do some kind of evil spell to them. Now, with the help of a midwife, the baby escapes and finds its way to a Nelwyn village, where you meet Williow Ufgood, who he's kind of, even in his own village as of Nelwyns, he stood out. He was a dreamer. He didn't have very good confidence in himself, but he was a very kind person. So it finds out that, like, the High Elwyn gives him the quest to take this child to to find people of their kind, to find of its kind, because it was a normal sized people who they called Daikinis. Take them and find someone to protect the child. So he was sent on this mission to find this place, and on his way he meets brownies, which are little fairy folk type people, and the brownies in the original movie were actually quite funny. They were comic relief, as well as he came across a warrior and a thief, Mad Mardigan, who was played by Val Kilmer. Together, they, with the help of two sources, Finn Rizal and Shalindria. She was she was the head of the fairy people. And so with them. And later in the movie, he meets up with Sorsha, who's the head of the Queen's army, but they fall for each other, and she turns on her mother. And such a cool show. I'm not giving it justice just glancing through like this. It's so good. If you haven't seen it, you have to see the show. And it ended with movie ended with basically Williow destroying the Queen, and Mad Mardigan and Sorsha take care of the baby, Aurora Danan, and Williow goes back to his home where he has found the confidence in himself, become a sorcerer, so he ends up becoming the High Aldwin's apprentice, and you see that at the end of the show. Now, on a personal note, this series meant a lot to me growing up. I was going through some bullying and stuff when I was in school, and this was one of the first movies that they showed an actual little person as a hero in the movie. It helped me in so many ways. I think there's parts of this, the story of this, that kind of helped shape me in some ways to be the person I am today. Now let's go into the new series. Ron Howard is not directing this one, but he is an executive producer, so he is that's very important. He did very well in the last one. This series is supposed to take place about 20 years later. Williow joins a group of people to find Sorsha's son with the help of her daughter, Kit. These two kids are actually Mad Mardigan's and Sorsha's children, and they're on a mission to find their son. Now, I also heard that Aurora Danan is in this somehow. She's missing. That's just a rumor I heard, but I'm not sure. So hopefully we do see what happened to her in this series, because we all wondered. She was a baby in the last one. Now, Val Kilmer's character is supposed to have a huge part in the movie, but it is said that he's not actually in the movie because of his illness, but it would be an added bonus if we see him. I kind of hope that they at least show him a little bit. Now, see, the last one was more of an adventure of Williow getting into his own and becoming a more confident person. This movie is supposed to be different. It's going to be like a Lord of the Rings kind of quest, where there's going to be wizards and bow people and swordsmen and thieves and all that kind of stuff. So this looks really cool. And the one thing that's I hope they do a little bit in this one as well is when they're using little people, use actual little people. Because in the original movie, it was the largest casting call of little people at one time. There was between 225 to 240 little people actors that were in the original Williow. So I think they should stick to the tradition and actually have real little people. I don't really have any predictions at this time because I'm not really sure where this series is going to go, but I look forward to seeing you this coming week to talk about the very first episode that comes out on the 30th. Now, I do need to thank my sponsors. First of all, I do need to thank Dean Blundell on the Dean Blundell Network on deanblundell.com, and of course Army Chris, my buddy for Fire for Effect Productions. I need to thank him, and I look forward to seeing you next time.